What is up, Bad Brood? Hercule with Team Badman. Welcome guys back to another edition of Bad Builds, where we take a look at some of the decks we've been working on here at Team Badman to not only let you know what, of course, we've been working on, but to hopefully give you guys some ideas for some of your own decks and maybe help you consider some cards you guys hadn't considered before. And today, I get to say that the champ is here. No, not that champ. No, of course, we're talking about Hercule. Now, when Hercule first came out here in the Awakening set, there was one particular thing everyone noticed about him, and that's a little name card called Hercule's Dynamite Kick, which with the original mechanics of the card, whenever the card was discarded, destroyed, or banished from your life deck, just went right back in. So in theory, all you needed was more than one Dynamite Kick in your deck at any time, and you could never lose. You could never lose by survival victory, which meant your opponent either needed to have MPPV or Dragon Ball victory as an alternate win condition. And with the popularity of a lot of decks that won by survival, particularly with cards like Unleashed or I'll Dig Your Grave, or fast leveling mechanics in name cards such as Goku's Kaioken, it was basically a draw match against Hercule. Now, of course, before the set came out, there was clarification that if all you have left in your deck is Dynamite Kicks and / or Dragon Balls, you lose. And that really kind of turned a lot of people off to Hercule, I think. I think there was originally this idea that you could just have a lot of shenanigans with Hercule, and you could just kind of do whatever you wanted. You know, you could play the Dynamite Kicks and Dragon Balls, and nothing else mattered in the deck. So basically, you could completely lame it out and still win. But Hercule hasn't actually really been seen just about at all in the current metagame, mainly because there's been, a lot of Goku domination, and we've seen decks like Vegeta and Trunks come out in real popularity. But Hercule became really kind of the lame duck of the entire set. But that doesn't mean that Hercule actually doesn't have some merits to him. Of course, Dynamite Kick is still it's a ridiculous name card in general. You don't, of course, use it for damage, but instead use it because it always hits. You can always gain stages off of it. And on that level 3, you've got a guaranteed 4 anger with this card. An absolutely guaranteed 4 anger because the attack will never be blocked. It always goes through and stays out 4 times. A ridiculous 4 times. That's absolutely insane. Not only that, but Hercule has a tailor-made Omni block in the Jiminy Firecracker ally, not the Jiminy Firecracker ally. No, we're not talking Disney here. And he also has another fantastic name card in Hercule's Grand Entrance, which allows him to pull out Jimmy Firecracker the instant opponent performs an attack, which is just awesome in and of itself. And a lot of decks, I've seen with Hercule are either, still kind of focused around the Dragon Ball victory, or they try to use the double modifiers on level 3, which, of course, that's absolutely fantastic, but off the AT, Hercule's never going to be dealing, a ton of damage, unless there's a card like Saiyan Flip out, or if you are running him in orange and you've got something like Orange Distracting Drill, something like that. But this deck isn't focused on that. This deck focuses on where Hercule originally came in alongside the Black Conflict Mastery, and while the starter deck, of course, isn't great because you can't run any energy attacks in the deck, there's still a ton of anger cards in black, which are really strong, really solid. Combined with that name card buff on level 3, it's actually fairly easy to see the idea of a Hercule MPPV beats kind of approach. Of course, you're not going to do a ton of damage, but when you get the double modifier thing rolling, and you finally get modifiers on your name cards on level 4, you can still deal some reasonable damage, and that's what we're going to take a look at today. We're going to try out bringing in the big old Frode champ here, and we're going to take a look at Black Conflict Hercule MPPV beats. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. Before we start, I do want to acknowledge, the layout it's most definitely different. I've been changing around some things here. On last week, you guys remember when CRD 4.6 dropped, I did a green screened video of that, have a G in the background. If you guys haven't checked that out, be sure to do so. It's just a quick little thing. But I'm trying that out now because you guys seem to be fairly receptive to it. So this might be the way that I actually do most of my videos here from now on. So it is a little bit of a change, but I really hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about it, and I can, improve it or just keep this going. However you guys feel about it, just let me know down in the comment section. So, of course, with this deck, as I did mention, there is a tailor-made ally for Hercule, and it's our only ally that we are going to run the deck, and that's Jimmy Firecracker. An Omni block, shuffles right back into life deck, so you can pull him back out with Hercule's Grand Entrance. He does what he does, and with Hercule's Grand Entrance, he comes in 5 stages above 0, so even if you're taking a kind of moderate stage attack, you don't necessarily need to use the block with Jimmy Firecracker right away. You can use him to buffer off some stages, and use the wide variety of stage gaining effects that are actually in this deck to help Hercule gain some of those stages. So you do have options with Jimmy Firecracker. He is a nifty tool for Hercule. Certainly not perfect because Hercule's Grand Entrance only gets from life deck or discard pile, so if he's banished, that's a card that's doing you no good. But Jimmy Firecracker is a very solid ally for an MP, and it's a tool that Hercule almost kind of needs because with his AT being perpetually in A, he's just going to get bodied by just about any high AT physical-based attack. So being able to at least block almost on command when you've got Grand Entrance out is pretty nice. No complaints about running this ally in here. Very, very useful tool. Like I said, that's our only ally. In this deck, because it's black, we also have drills, so I'm getting to a bunch of stuff before we even touch any of the setups, which is where I usually start. And of course, because black style, we have 3 copies of Black Smoothness drill, extra hand advantage. It's a huge deal. I've said it many times, I'll continue to say it. Black Smoothness drill may be the single best card in the game because just free +1 hand advantage with endurance on the card, just great. It speaks for itself. I use that a lot because it's true. This card really speaks for itself, and that's all you need to know. So, of course, that's our only drill. That's all we need. Now we're finally going to get into the setups, which is where I usually start if we don't have allies, drills, Dragon Balls. So now we're finally here. And, of course, we have 3 copies of Black Power-Up in the deck. It's probably Black's best setup. It's one of another ways to gain a ton of stages, which Hercule kind of needs, because all he needs to do is take one AT+3 or AT+4 physical, or a physical with modifiers on it, and he's basically stage drained. And while he does gain a ton of stages between Hercule's Dynamite kick and his level 1, the ability to wick off damage to Jimmy Firecracker, you need stages, and sometimes you just have a dead hand. You want to get the heckles out of combat. So Black Power Up is going to help you do that, especially considering that one of the game's best combat enters, a Blinding Energy move, is not available to Hercule. So you kind of want to have this in here. Black Power Up's a fantastic tool for the deck. Alongside that, we have 2 copies of Visiting the Past. Getting cards out of the discard pile is pretty nifty. It honestly is. Sometimes, you have hands where you have cards you don't necessarily want to discard, like Hercule's Dynamite kick. Because if it gets discarded from your hand, it doesn't go back into the life deck. It's only if it gets destroyed out of the life deck. So you always do have the option to be like, oh, I'm going to VTP, get back my Dynamite kick, play it, and then I can get back into the life deck and I can hold out just a little bit longer. Plus, there are a ton of other great options that you can pull out in this deck. It's really solid all around, and there's reasons included in just about every deck. So it rounds out a suite of setups fairly well, and I've got no complaints about it in here. So after that, of course, we're going to go into the events before we get into the massive suite of physical combat cards, because that's basically all we have in here offensively. So, of course, we do have events that are gonna cater a little bit to Hercule's kind of needing to anger thing. And with that, we start off with 3 copies of Black Command. Not as good as it used to be back in the day. We all already know this, but it's still 2 anger. 3 if you discard to the mastery and use the extra anger raise off of the mastery. So that's plenty useful. It's got some endurance on it, which helps out a lot. It's not often you're actually going to be using the play effect, but if you really need to banish cards in a pinch, you can do that. If you need to mill your opponent strategically, you can do that. But there's one reason you have this in the deck, and that's that 2 anger. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still good nonetheless. Alongside that, for anger, we have 3 copies of Black Schematics, which again, it gives you 2 anger, which is great. But not only that, but you get to search your opponent's life deck for a drill and place it into play under your control, which is a big thing right now with drills kind of coming back in a lot of decks, particularly in Orange Retribution. So if you get the chance to kind of one-up your opponent, play schematics, and you get to pull out their checkup drill, that's an extra card you get in your hand, additional block. Or maybe you want to pull their possession drill so that you can draw some extra cards to get that smoothness drill out of your hand. Maybe you want to get crying drill for free anger. There are drills in just about any style that you can get, and they're awesome. They work really well on schematics. It's just fantastic as an anger gaining event. Not only that, but 3 endurance rather. Okay, I'll take 3 endurance on Event the Race My Anger 2 any day of the week, especially considering in this deck we have neither Black Invitation nor Black Foreshadowing, which is one of the token 3 endurance events the Black style has. So this is a really nice placement for that, and it fits into the deck very well. No complaints. And lastly, Time as a Warrior's Tool. Enough about that. And now we gotta move into the physical combat cards, because Hercule can't run energy attacks. So the only energy combat cards we have in the deck are blocks. So I mean, I could start with those, but you know, I go in a particular order, and I'm gonna start off with all the physical attacks we've got. There are tons in here, just so many. It puts Brawly to shame how many physical attacks there are in this deck. And sure, it's out of necessity, but there's just so many. And you know, we've got tons of anger, we got tons of utility, we've got stuff that works in here. And we're going to start off with 3 copies of Black Defensive Burst. This is one of Black's premier physicals. Of course, being able to stop posing physical attacks is great for Hercule, because like I said, you're going to get bodied by just about any AT physical attack. So if you can shut that off, it's a huge deal. 4 life cards still puts you in the critical threshold provided by the Conflict Mastery. It's just strong all around, and it might not be as powerful as it was in the Vengeance meta because energy decks are starting to come back, but it's still an option to shut out those Gohans and the Trunkses and the Brawlies nonetheless. Very effective. Next up is 3 copies of Blaack Flashback. I've told you guys how much I love this card, and this card's just awesome. Being able to see into your opponent's hand, know what you're facing up against, and being able to banish out what could be their only block and guarantee you're getting some damage through is just awesome. The insight in itself makes this card completely worth it. Not only that, but it's physical for 4 life. Super solid there. It's just good all around. If you haven't tried it, please do it. It's good in black, and it's a tool they really could have used. Sure, we don't have cards like Black Swirl to get the real benefit out of them, but what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Next up is 3 copies of Black Hug Maneuver. 2 endurance, 2 anger. Really solid for all of that. It's one of our premier anger cards in the deck. It's only AT stages, and Hercule's not going to deal any damage with it, but it's here for anger. That's all you really need. And if you need enough justification to run this card, you can look at TJ Corcoran's Devious 13 build that got him to Worlds, which ran, of course, 3 copies of this, because you like anger. Anger is very good for this deck, and Hug Maneuver helps you do that. Next up is 3 copies of Black Dash. Again, it's got endurance, it's got 2 anger on it. The really nifty benefit actually about this one is if it hits, you get to search for opposing allies and you get to place them into play. And some allies, you know, are starting to come back, especially with a lot of Namekian and Gohan decks being around. You can pull out some of their allies and try to use them to your advantage. You can pull out Icarus to make sure your Jimmy Firecracker is safe. You can steal one of their blocking allies. Their decks, they're starting to run Dr. Briefs again, which you'll see with Vegeta and you'll see with Trunks. So being able to snipe that out of their deck is a really nice benefit. It's pretty solid all around. I prefer it over Combo, even though Combo does pull attached cards, because Dash not only deals a little bit more damage, but you have the additional endurance on it. Plus, you get to look into their deck with it as opposed to just taking an attached card, which may not necessarily be very useful. So, this is a preference over Combo. Of course, Combo could be a better meta call because of all the attached cards that are out, but either way, you're working fine. It's all good either way. Next up is 3 copies of Black Lunge. This is a black physical that kind of disappeared for a while, which is really odd to me, because if you look in just about any Saiyan deck, you'll find 3 copies of Saiyan Left Kick. And Black Lunge and Saiyan Left Kick are the exact same thing. AT plus for life, 1 endurance, raise your anger 1. In this deck, it's nice for Hercule to have another power card. Sure, he's not going to get much off the AT, if anything off the AT, but it's still additional anger. Plus, that plus 4 life looks really nice on level 3, where it becomes a plus 8 life. So you're dealing a guaranteed 8 life cards off this attack on that level 3. Not to mention your additional modifiers that you get from other cards in the deck and from Hercule's level 3 itself. So it's a very strong physical in here, especially considering that you don't really get anything off the AT. Having that damage is nice. It adds a little more to the beats end of everything, and it fits really well into the deck. I like it. I actually really like it as a black card. I've run it for a really long time, and while it's not the best card and there's some better options, it works very well in here. Very well. Next, 2 copies of Black Dismissal. Again, it's another way to gain stages. It's a 2 anger swing between raising yours 1, lowering your opponent's anger 1. Flat stage damage is nice because Hercule's not going to get AT, as I keep mentioning consistently. Plus, it's got 2 endurance on it. There's a lot more endurance in this deck than I initially realized when I built it. Between that and the Dynamite kicks, there's a lot of survivability in here, and a card like Dismissal helps you do that. Plus, I already said it's more stages, and stages are really nice because you're going to take so much damage. So that's really nifty in and of itself. Nice to see this one come back, because it kind of fell off after the Perfection meta. When Vengeance hit, you didn't see a whole lot of it, even in a lot of popular black decks. So it's making a comeback here, and it's not too bad all around. Next, 2 copies of Black Enraged Assault. As you see, we're really trying to fill in here with all these physical attacks, and you do have a lot of benefit out of this one. Of course, you have extra endurance, which is great. You've got hybrid damage and stages and life cards. Not only that, but the life card damage is the modifier. So on level 3, it becomes plus 6 life. That's really strong there. Plus, if it hits, you get to banish out all copies of a card in your opponent's banish zone, and it's if you time this right, you can mess up a lot of decks that need some very particular cards, such as Brawly if he manages to top deck a Face Crusher and banishes that for endurance, or Yamcha if he banishes a Rescue to try and end combat. There are a lot of decks that can get unexpectedly bodied by the banishing effect of this card and lose just a bunch of key options. So that's really solid there. And it's even better now that Unleashed is banished, because all I have to do is Unleashed once. You can be like, oh, Enraged Assault? Oh, it hits. I'm going to banish all your other Unleashed. Hope you're having fun staying on whatever level you're on. So it's been overlooked a little bit, but it fits nicely into this deck, considering we need to fill in that space with some reasonable attacks to help Hercule actually do a little bit of beats things. So it's nice there. Plus, you get to bust out any of your old promos if you try it out. Not too bad all around. Next is 1 copy of Black Vehicle Toss. This is a card that was kind of a hard sell for me. I mean, yeah, it is an extra attached card. You do get the Devious +1/+1 modifier. On combining that with Vehicle Toss's damage itself, you can get some crit-worthy damage. But if another card attaches to you, it gets banished, and there are so many attached cards around that it's not liable to stay around super long. That said, the +1/+1 modifier helps Hercule out a lot. It's decent damage all around. The longer it can stay on, the better. And I mean, they're just better options for physicals in here. So I kind of kept it as a 1 just for that additional modifier, because of how frail it really is. Sure, there's an option like Black Breaker, which gives you the same, but that only does it for the remainder of the combat. And I want something a little bit more consistent. While we don't have anything like Unleashed to attach with, you don't really need it for super long. And again, if you can get on level 3, it's +2/+2, plenty strong all around. One copy is good enough. You can try it at more, but it may not be consistent enough for taste. So one it is. And lastly, for our styles, 1 copy of Black Head Charge. This is, of course, one of the black cards in the ever-so-forgotten pool of Heroes and Villains cards. This is a card that had some pretty nifty application in old decks like Nappa, where you could just drain all of your stages and deal out, tons and tons of damage. Now this is in here, yet again, as I keep mentioning, because of level 3. You gain so many stages anyway that you have no issue draining out a bunch of stages. For every stage you pay, that's plus 2 stages you're dealing out to your opponents. If you drain the maximum 20 stages, or 10 stages, you get 20 stages of damage right there. 20 stages of damage, not to mention Hercule's automatic plus 2 stage modifier that he provides on his MP level, and any other modifiers you can get. So this could surprisingly deal a ton of damage, surprisingly, but it's a little too cute for its own good, and it only really works on the level 3, so it's just 1 copy to kind of surprise opponents. It's easily replaceable, but it's a really nifty trick in this deck, and it works nicely with Hercule's double modifiers all around, so I figure why not? Why in the world not? We need something to fill in the space, and this could be crafty enough to surprise some opponents. And that's it for styles. So of course we do need to have some non-styleds in here. We're going to start off with 3 copies of Sinister Choke. Hercule needs some damage output. He really does, and Sinister Choke does that consistently. 5 life cards, super solid. With a lot of the decks, they're starting to bring out a little bit more board now. The Namekian decks, they're starting to come back, particularly the Gohan decks that pull out a lot of allies. You've got the orange decks, like to pull out some drills and like to set up a little bit of board. This could be a real surprise for them, realizing that their damage is now banished and it's not stoppable and it's still unpreventable. So it's a serious power card in here. It's seen a little bit of a fall off in a lot of decks, but it earns its merits in here and in actually a lot of black decks. So fitting in at 3 gives you that extra oomph that you need to maybe deal that surprise crit that you need to get rid of a wall breaker or get rid of something like Black Capture or whatever it might be. It's plenty strong in here. Next is 3 copies of Devastating Blow. It fits perfectly in just about any black deck. 1 anger for you, -2 anger for them. Banish 3 cards from your opponent's discard pile. So it's got that kind of 1-2-3 triage with it that was generated again in Dr. Wheelo. So, of course, Devastating Blow is really strong. Discard Pile Hate is great. And considering that the Devious Mastery is gone, you don't get that built into the Mastery. Having a little bit of that is nice. Unfortunately, it's our only real banishing in this deck, but it's enough to say, hey, that's worth it. I'll definitely run this. It fits in nicely. It could have been a black card in and of itself, and it'd be great. So no complaints about running this one. I recommend running it in just about any deck that you're considering right now because of how effective it is right now. It's never not been effective. So if you haven't tried it out, seriously give it a try. It's totally worth it. Next, of course, 3 copies of Hercule's Dynamite Kick. Lots of stages, always hitting. If it gets milled off, it goes right back onto the bottom of the life deck. It's a name card that kind of speaks for itself, and it's Hercule's basically whole gimmick. It's kind of lame to have just that one name card as a gimmick, but if you're running a Hercule deck, you're not gonna not have Dynamite Kick. You need to run in here, and of course, a full suite of 3 maximizes its potential. Just good. It's good for Hercule. It's the only thing he's really got, but it's good. And lastly, 2 copies of Playful Punch. He gets this nice benefit of being able to use this block, and it gains more stages, and it deals out some life card damage. Plus, non-styled attacks are coming back. Not that they ever really left, but a lot of power named attacks, are coming out. You see Final Flash becoming a really big thing. You see, of course, Cooler's got Supernova, Brawly's got Face Crusher, which is almost always going to deal maximum damage. There's a lot that this card is going to get benefit out of blocking with. For MPs that don't have that 500,000 or over power level, it's good. It's plenty good. And that's it for all of our offensive cards. So now we've got blocks. I'm just going to crank out all the blocks all in one sitting. Let me actually mute my phone here really quick because it's been trying to go off at me. So for physical blocks, we have 3 copies of Black Knee Catch, extra endurance, 2 anger off of the block. Great there. and 2 copies of Black Stop. Again, this is a physical block with some anger to it. Not only that, but you get insight into your opponent's hand, which Hercule's going to value so that he knows what's coming at him. Because that's something that Hercule likes to do. He likes to know what's coming at him and then try to run away with a stomach bug or some lame excuse. Because that's what Hercule does. Sure, there are other physical blocks you could put in here. If you want more damage, you could do upward dodge. Delay is a very, very strong choice right now with all of the MP powers that are physical attacks and whatnot. But we do like a little extra anger, and the inside is nice, especially considering, we don't really have, many ways to kind of capitalize on hand insight. So just the hand insight in of itself is of major, major value, and Stop's going to help you kind of do that. And for our energy blocks, we have 3 copies of Black Lunge. This is in here because of damage for style attacks. Plus 4 life to your next styled attack is a pseudo upward dodge. 2 endurance is great, and you want damage. You want the damage in here, and that's exactly what you need. So this could be easily replaceable with, another energy block. Some kind you could put in swipe if you want more banishing. You could put in resistance if you want more anger. But flinch is here because we need a little more offensive presence, so that's going to be helpful here. And 2 copies of Black Corruption. It's usable with Mastery. It's got Devastating Blow, levels of Anger Swing. So strong, plenty strong all around. And it's nice to actually see this one come back. It fell off after the Corruption change where it had to be banished by your own effect. So it's still got plenty of value to it, and it brings a block line together for Hercule that he desperately, desperately needs. So the game has basically been telling me for a long time to play Hercule. In my first box I opened, I got a Hercule DR, got a Hercule attack table, and a foil Dynamite kick. Next box I open, oh look, foil Grand Entrance. Got another foil Dynamite kick, got a foil Jimmy Firecracker. This game is telling me to play Hercule. And that's kind of why I put this together. I feel like Hercule's too cute for his own good, and I don't know if he's going to ever really make a big splash in the metagame, but he's actually kind of fun to play, I'm not going to lie. Certainly not going to be winning any major events anytime soon because of the Dynamite kick change, but he's still got potential, and I wanted to kind of look into that because very, very few people really, really have. Seeing Mr. Waffles do it with Ruthless Hercule was really, really exciting, and I liked watching that one. Shout out to Mr. Waffles. If you haven't seen his Ruthless Hercule video, go take a look at it. It's completely worthwhile. That is going to do it for the Champs deck list. No, not that champ. Come on. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to click that like button down below. Give me a thumbs. Love to see him. If not, click the dislike button. Let me know what you guys didn't like, so that way I can change it for future episodes. Also, if you guys haven't hit that subscribe button down below, please be sure to do so so that you can follow this series and all of our other series. We've got a lot less content coming through weekly on the channel since Xenoverse 2 ended. And if you guys haven't caught that yet, be sure to go check it out. We do have a full playlist of the entire playthrough. It's a lot of fun, so be sure to check it out. Lastly, if you guys haven't found us on social media, those links are down below too, so you guys can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Libsyn, so be sure to check all those out. We will have a brand new podcast out on Monday, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. And just, come and say hey. We would love to interact with you guys. Also, if you guys like the new green screen effect, let me know down in the comments section like I said at the start of this video. I'm definitely looking for feedback on if you guys enjoyed it. I'll be happy to do more of it. So that's going to do it for this episode. I'm Eric with Team Badman, signing out. So thank you guys for watching. And like always, stay bad. We'll see you guys next time. Catch you later. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.